and Kirsten are now being presented with flowers in appreciation for their love and support throughout Master Sergeant's career. Ladies and gentlemen, the retiring official for today's ceremony, Lieutenant Colonel Scott.
Really appreciate everybody coming out today. I promise to try to keep this to 10 minutes, but it's really difficult to sum up 20 years of service in 10 minutes or less. I will do my best. I know that if Staff Sergeant Howerton wanted somebody that would come up here and be extremely professional and eloquent, that he would have chosen somebody else. So please forgive me if I drop a unpleasant word. That's just Marine Corps nature, and I will really try hard not to. Jim, I will apologize. So you all have his bio, so I'm not going to regurgitate his bio word for word, but I will say, from 2001, and I saw the boot camp picture on Facebook, which was awesome. He looks exactly the same, minus about 90 pounds. So it's phenomenal. So 2001, go to the schoolhouse, learn how to drive big trucks, right? Go to division, drive big trucks for division. Go back to the schoolhouse, which is really important, and become an instructor. So Chaplain talked about leading and guiding Marines, as well as the Commandant's message and a couple other messages about really developing the future of our Marine Corps, which if staff's, I'll push later once my shoulders get repaired. If Master Sergeant Howerton really did one thing that impacted the Marine Corps for many years to come is his time at the schoolhouse. So leave there, go back to division, drive big trucks again, except for this time, he's protecting the battalion commander, which is probably one of the most important roles in combat, a little known place called Iraq. So spent a little time there, which I'm sure for Jen, extremely terrifying. I've done it 5 times, so yeah, I can imagine what it's like on the other end of that. Came back safely, and then that is where I first encountered then Staff Sergeant Howerton, newly promoted Staff Sergeant Howerton, as he came over to the logistics side, stopped working with the ground pounders, came over to the support side where my world is. So worked for me as an operations chief at CLR 27 at the regiment, and then unfortunately, we stood up the Marine Logistics Group forward to go to Afghanistan to a little place called Camp Leatherneck for an entire year. I don't know of any of all in this room that has spent an entire year in Camp Leatherneck. It's as miserable as it sounds, especially for some of the ones that we were working for. But throughout that time, the staff sergeant and myself got to know each other really well. Our offices were right down the hall. He basically became, I was a security manager, so he became an assistant security manager for me as the XO, and then also was my company gunny, which anybody not in the military understand that the company gunny does everything that nobody else wants to do. It's pretty much sums it up. Everything that nobody else wants to do, and he did it remarkably well. And we got to know each other really well, and we hated it there so much. He is an extremely dedicated family man, and I know we talked a lot about our families. I have a daughter and 3 sons of my own, so talked about Jen and the girls quite a bit. And to get our minds off of it, what do normal Marines do? We decided to start PTing, of which we ran the Marine Corps Marathon together in Afghanistan, which I would not recommend to anybody. But in true Trent fashion, and I did start calling him Trent on that deployment when he got spun up and really got animated about things, and I called him also like, Trent, please just stop. Just go back and do staff sergeant things. You're a great staff sergeant, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. And so a funny story about the marathon is First Sergeant and Staff Sergeant and I, and we get to about mile 8, and he comes like hopping, skipping by, and he's all excited. He's doing circles, not realizing that he has another 18 miles to go. So he takes off. He's like, I'm going to set a pace on this one. First Sergeant and I keep a little steady Eddie pace, and sure enough, within about 4 miles, Trent is dragging butt and hurting a little bit. But definitely finished the race. We got a good 2 days off of work because of it, which was the main motivation, and also Afghanistan at night in the cool weather is actually a pretty awesome place under the stars. So we come back. If I remember right, you stayed with the logistics group for a little while. I left to be an instructor myself, and then got command of Motor T Schoolhouse, and then who comes along on my inbound roster. I was extremely excited. I hit him up on an email real quick, and I was like, I see you on my inbound roster, tell me this isn't a lie. He's like, no sir, I'm coming to work for you. So when he came to work for me, again, looking at his ability to influence Marines. I know when he first got there, I assigned him something that he did not want to do. Motor Transport Schoolhouse is about 800 students on a given day, 6 classes of 40, and then a group of 100 to 300 Marines sitting in the barracks waiting to get into the schoolhouse. And what I didn't have was a firm handle on those students who were waiting to come to school. They pretty much sat in their barracks room, played computer games. So he checks in, all excited to go be an instructor, and I'm like, hey man, I'm sorry, like, I need your skills to work with those young Marines and get them ready to come to the schoolhouse and keep them out of trouble. We kind of exchanged a few professional words, of which I said, Trent, this is what you're going to do. You got it, sir. And then that good initiative that I loved about him and his ability to connect with Marines started a program that is still in place today over at the schoolhouse. And it's not only within MITMIC, which was my school that you worked for, but also within the entire logistics operations school has now developed that program, and it is up and running and still going to this day. So to show his impact, to start something from off the ground, we gave him a couple good NCOs and a couple good other staff NCOs, and they took it and ran with it. And it was a phenomenal experience. And then if I remember right, from that schoolhouse back to the wing, right, over to Cherry Point, so staying East Coast, and then whoop, over to California, except not really California. We went to Iraqi and California. Over to 29 Palms to tanks, and while they stood down, obviously again, somebody who has an incredible amount of initiative and is just the guy like a company gunny should be, except he's done it his entire career, is I'm sure Lieutenant Colonel Adams, who I replaced in this billet, took him and said, Trent, this is what I need you to do. And by the fact that that battalion is now stood down with all of their gear gone and everything, I would say that a large amount of that effort came from then Master Sergeant Howerton. I will say that the two things that I have loved and appreciated about Trent through our 10 plus years of working together is one, his commitment to his family. There was never a doubt at any time during that year-long deployment or the time that we spent together at the schoolhouse that there wasn't a day that our conversation usually started about my girls. You know, when he met my girls, it was the beautiful ladies that we have in front of us. Many nights spent in Afghanistan while we were running or while we were in our offices just talking about family. And it was really the driving motivation for him. And that bled over into how he taught and mentored young Marines and just as importantly, young officers. So one of the key things that Staff NCO does is mentor young officers. I was one of those that was a benefit of that mentoring. I know, Lieutenant, now Major Boyven, who I'm getting ready to go spend some time with up at the Pentagon, speaks highly of him and talks about him, or Lieutenant Bobo, as Trent likes to call him. But so many officers that he was able to help sculpt and mold, as well as all the privates and PFCs at the schoolhouse. And I'm sure as a Master Sergeant over a tank battalion, a gunnery sergeant at the wing, being able to really pull those Marines in and teach them what it means to be a good leader, and most importantly, a good family man. So I think I've kept it to 10 minutes, but my time in the Marine Corps is better because of you. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of students that have come through the schoolhouses who are successful because of your guidance and leadership. There are commanders who are successful because you picked them up as a captain or a major and go, hey sir, and gave them only the way they trained, kind of, hey sir, like, oh shit, I'm in trouble with gunning. That was the one time, I apologize. So really appreciate that. I know there are hundreds, if not thousands of Marines around the Marine Corps that appreciate it as well. We hate to see you go, but I can tell you I have a huge smile on my face to see you back with your girls, which is, I know, what is your happy spot. It was 2009 when I first met you all, so you've grown up beautifully. I'm glad you get your dad back, and I know how excited he is to be back with you. That's all I got, brother.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Appreciate it.
Love you.
All right.